I thank the member for Newcastle. The question now is that the amendment be agreed to, and I call the member for Ryan.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I rise today to speak in support of the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission repeal bill. The abolition of this bill will remove the red tape that was strangling the efforts and making life harder for the many volunteers who devote their time to bettering the lives of others. I would just like to touch on a few points about the importance of charities and not-for-profits in our community. Mr Deputy Speaker, charities and not-for-profits are vital to civil society. Not only do they contribute to the general well-being of communities by lending a helping hand to those in need, but they also generate a significant amount of money for Australia. In fact, charities and not-for-profit organisations generate about 5% of the national economy. They provide as many as 1 million paid positions, that is 1 in 12 of the nation's jobs. Mr Deputy Speaker, charities and not-for-profit organisations involve more than 6 million volunteers, which is a wage equivalent of $15 billion each year. Overall, they provide annual revenue of about $100 billion to Australia. So to add even more regulation to the running of these organisations was an absurd decision. All it has done is create a burden that would discourage involvement in our many thousands of volunteer organisations. The former government's introduction of this bill showed disrespect for these organisations and was based on the unfair delusion that all charities need to be policed. While the former government might have held this opinion, it is not the case for the Australian public. Australians have long demonstrated a strong trust in the not-for-profit and charity sector by international standards. Not only do we have a high level of volunteering and charitable giving occurring nationally, but in 2013 we were ranked the most generous country by the Charities Aid Foundation's World Giving Index. Charities and not-for-profit organisations play a vital role in civil society and work hard to gain the public's trust. Indeed, these days there is a healthy competition for donations, and this, not legislation, is what will encourage further giving. They do not need to be burdened with even more regulations. They need to be able to devote more time to outreach services and more time to doing what they do best. The abolition of this bill is consistent with the coalition government's broader deregulation agenda and will remove excessive, unnecessary and overly complex red tape. In my electorate of Ryan, I see firsthand the amazing work that is accomplished by charities and not-for-profit groups. Just recently I attended Party in the Paddock, a celebration for the 50th anniversary of the McIntyre Centre, which provides equestrian programs for young people with disabilities. The centre has the outstanding support of the community. Together they raised $50,000 at this one event, all of which will go towards helping more than 200 young people. These 200 people would not have access to such specialised programs without the help of the McIntyre Centre and their tireless volunteers. Volunteers are essential to the running of the McIntyre Centre. Without them, the centre could be forced to turn away children who thrive in these programs. Another not-for-profit organisation in my electorate is the Pickabeen Community Organisation in the heart of Mitchelton. They have for many years run programs ranging from legal help to playgroups, tutoring for school children and literacy courses for adults, provided counselling services and computer access. They also run Clothesline, an initiative for women who suffer from sexual and domestic violence. In their 2014 report, the President affirms just how vital volunteers are to the success of this organisation. And I quote, "Without the volunteers, Pickabeen Community Association would not be able to offer the activities and services that it offers, and it would not be able to fundraise." The McIntyre Centre and Pickabeen are just two organisations of many in Ryan that would not be able to provide support to the most vulnerable in our community without their volunteers. The Australian Charities and Not-for-Profit Commission and the regulations that come with it creates an extra burden to these special organisations, a burden that could discourage involvement altogether. These organisations need our support. They need less red tape and they need less regulations, so they can focus their attention on supporting our most vulnerable. The work these organisations do for our community is second to none, and it's important that they are respected. That is why, in place of the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission, the government will establish a Centre for Excellence. This small body will promote innovation, education and training. It will empower the sector and allow for advocacy, meaning the people inside the sector will have a say in what happens within it. The introduction of a Centre for Excellence will allow for charities and not-for-profits to focus all their attention on the important outreach work they do, not complex internal paperwork. The Coalition is committed to delivering more certainty in the civil sector, reducing complexities and reforming grant and contract arrangements. The Coalition Government wholeheartedly values the service and contributions of charities and the not-for-profits that they provide to the Australian public, and we will honour our election promise to abolish this commission to give power back to the sector. I commend this bill to the House.